once again, Notre Dame lost at home despite being massive favorites. It's actually the third time since 2022 that they've lost despite being 2 touchdown favorites. Second time they've lost while being at least 20-point favorites, and they were 28.5-point favorites over Northern Illinois. But the Huskies came in and had the biggest win in program history, taking down number 5 Notre Dame 16-14 in this game. Let's look over at the highest graded players from Northern Illinois to start off in this game, and the highest graded player in this one was pretty easily Ontario Brown, their star running back, with an 85.4. Skylar Gill Howard at the D tackle at a 74.8. Amarion Knighton at a 74.3 at the corner. Ethan Hampton, the quarterback, at a 71.9, and Jason Profit at a 71.5. Deshaun Profit, 71.5. But Dalton, we got to look at the Notre Dame side of the ball. Not a lot went right from Notre Dame, especially offensively in this game. They had some defensive guys that stepped up. Xavier Watts, once again, had a nice game at a 73.9. Jeremiah Love, the running back, really the only thing going right for this Notre Dame offense right now, 71.5. Linebacker Jaden Osbury at a 71.3. Their offensive tackle, Emil Wagner, at a 67.6. And Jack Kaiser rounding it out at a 67.3. For you, what was the stat that told the story in this massive upset, maybe the biggest upset we're going to have all year?
I'm going to start on the defensive side because there's going to be a lot of talk about the offense, but Notre Dame is not getting to the quarterback right now. They only pressured Ethan Hampton 4 times the entire game and came up with a 63.8 pass rush grade. Last year, they were in the top 20 in pass rush grade in the country, and right now, they're just not getting to the quarterback. Howard Cross especially has 1 pressure through 2 games, a sack against Texas A&M last week. And if they're not generating, look, they need Cross and Riley Mills to be those guys in the middle, but especially Cross as a pass rusher. He was one of the best pass rushers in the country last year, and you're seeing that spread into the entire defensive line. They're just not getting to the quarterback right now. And even against a team like Northern Illinois, that's really concerning. And I know it's a low-scoring game, and their back seven's going to play well. Xavier Watts, Jack Kaiser, Ben Morrison. But they just, you have to complement it with rushing the quarterback and flustering him, because Ethan Hampton he didn't play a great game. It's against that defense, but he never looked uncomfortable. Or even in the biggest moments late in the game, Ethan Hampton was kind of in his zone, and he understood the assignment of, okay, we're in a low-scoring game, and I just have to keep moving the chains. And the defensive line never made a big play. Even in this type of game, even when I know they only gave up 16 points and it was a low-scoring game, and we're going to get into the offense, their defensive line, if Howard Cross doesn't start to turn it around here, it starts to concern me a little bit.
The craziest thing about that is that the one word I would use to describe Connor Wigman last week was uncomfortable. They made Connor Wigman extremely uncomfortable in that game.
But they had to blitz him a lot.
Yeah.
They blitzed him a lot in that game, and the front 4 didn't do as much as you might think. I liked their approach last week of blitzing him early, and then he kind of was feeling that, the old Sam Darnold seeing ghosts sort of thing.
Yeah.
You saw that from Wigman. I'd have to check the numbers, but I didn't see them blitz as much in this game, and their defensive line is not getting home right now.
But just the fact that Ethan Hampton, like I said, looks so comfortable, but then Connor Wigman, who's QB1 in the draft, and Texas A&M obviously has a lot more talent in Northern Illinois, he looked uncomfortable. It was just like the weird dichotomy of having the two of them right next to each other back-to-back weeks. It's just so weird. My side that tells the story, Dawn, this Notre Dame passing offense, woof. 4.9 yards per attempt in this game. That is tied for the lowest they've had in a game since the 2019 season, when Michigan held them to 4.6 yards per attempt. Riley Leonard had a 53.4 passing grade in this game. His accuracy all over the place. Missed wide open receivers. He didn't see defenders at times as well. He was so uncomfortable under pressure. At a 28 passing grade under pressure in this game. One of his big time throws, I will say he had 2 big time throws in this game. One of them, though, was dropped by his receiver, Jaden Greathouse. So even when he was putting the ball on target, his receivers were dropping them sometimes as well. And the leading receiver in this game, Bo Collins, had 45 yards receiving in this game. This Notre Dame passing attack, this is the worst we've seen by their passing attack in half a decade in a game. And it came against Northern Illinois. I'm, again, like the Michigan offense, it's a little bit of panic now about, okay, how bad is this passing game going to be for Notre Dame this year?
Yeah, and look, my most impressive part, I think it's not just self-inflicted wounds. Northern Illinois secondary played really, really well. They picked off Leonard twice. They had a 76.6 team coverage grade. That's a really good mark, especially when you're stepping up in competition. You got Riley Leonard. You got all these transfer weapons coming in. So their secondary was fantastic, too, and there were times where they were just covering it really, really well. But I think the other thing that I found odd, especially with Notre Dame as a team who Obviously, they're based in the run, right? Jeremiah Love, Riley Leonard, we're trying to run the ball. They only ran one play-action pass the entire game. I just don't – and I know Mike Denbrock is spread it out and quick game and three-step drop and throw it down the sidelines. But
that's crazy.
And at LSU, they were a very light play-action team, too, with Jaden Daniels. But understandably, that wasn't a running team. I would drop back and throw it with Jaden Daniels and Neighbors and all those guys if I had them, too. But Notre Dame is not the team that can only get through a game running one play-action pass. They have to find something. And you would think, especially on the move, they could find something for Riley Leonard to run out on the edge if there's bootlegs. I know they don't get under center much with Denbrock, but there has to be something in there where you can just make it a little bit easier, open the windows a little bit more, because if you're always facing just standard send 4, drop 7, we've talked about the goal. You don't really want to blitz Riley Leonard. You don't want him taking off running on you. So you're going to see a lot of conventional coverages, and teams are going to hit their landmarks, and there's going to be tight windows like there were in this game. Like a team like Northern Illinois, who obviously more than talent is just really fundamentally sound. They always are. Those are the teams that can beat you if you drop back and you're predictable all the time and you're always just three-step, quick game, no deception. If there's no deception in your offense, you don't get people moving, and you really need people moving to make your quarterback's life easier. So that was an odd part to me, that only one play action pass. I didn't see how many they had last week against A&M, but only one play action pass in the entire game when you're a team that really should be built on running the ball and play action.
Yeah, absolutely. Even with Jeremiah Love is by far your best offensive player through 2 weeks right now, and you're not running play action when the defense, the thing they're most scared of right now is Jeremiah Love.
They will move up. Like, there are shots that can be created if you run action off of Love. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what they're most scared of right now. And speaking of running backs that scare defenses, that's my most impressive part of this game. Ontario Brown, listen, it was an ugly, ugly offensive game. Obviously, only 30 points total scored in this game. But Ontario Brown was Northern Illinois' entire offense in this game. You saw it already. He's the highest graded player from this game. He had 99 rushing yards and 102 rushing yards after contact. He actually had more yards after contact than he did rushing yards, which just speaks to how good he was at breaking tackles. But not even that, Dalton. That's a good day on the ground. He had 2 catches on 2 targets for 126 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was outstanding as a receiver in this game. He actually accounted for 75% of Northern Illinois' points and 61% of their total yards in this game. So Ontario Brown was by far the best player on the field in this game, and really it's the reason why Northern Illinois was able to pull off this upset.
Absolutely, and I think the touchdown early was the big one when you talk about going up 7-0 on a slow-paced Notre Dame offense early. So big for Northern Illinois to get out ahead, and I think that's how you're going to beat Notre Dame, is getting out ahead of them and then just kind of playing. You're gonna get in those grinder games, right? It's going to be Notre Dame's defense, and it's going to be low scoring, and every game's going to look like this, right? I don't know that Notre Dame is capable of winning a high scoring game if a game got somewhere into the 30s, right? So those are the games, and this is the only thing about, for Notre Dame's sake, you were hoping to see that their offense, it was going to take time to gel. A whole new offensive line that I think was 6 career starts coming into the year. Riley Leonard, all the new weapons, young running backs. They needed this time to get through this and play these defensive games. The problem is when you play these close to the vest games, teams like Northern Illinois are perfectly willing to stay in it. They don't want to get in those – underdogs don't want to get in those high-flying shootouts most of the time. They want to be in one-score games and just see where it goes, and that's exactly what happened. And, I don't know about you, but I think Notre Dame's in a spot now with this loss, because Northern Illinois was not one of the group of 5 teams
to watch out for.
To, watch out for as playoff contention. First of all, now – all of a sudden, if they win the MAC and maybe they finish the year with only 1 loss, now they're in that group.
Oh, absolutely.
But preseason, we didn't think they were in that group. I don't know about you. I think Notre Dame might have to win out just to get if they have another loss, especially with kind of a light schedule outside of the USC game. And that game at the end of the year might be everything. They can't lose another game, I don't think, with this loss in
I agree with you. It's too easy. It's too easy of a schedule, and the fact that they don't play a conference title game either, like that's another thing against them. So
and a Florida State game that isn't nearly as meaningful as it was in the preseason when they were number 10.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. I think they have to. I also think they have to win out now. And so real quick, Dawn, how is this a fluke, or do we think this is something to be a little worried about Notre Dame going forward?
I'm a little worried. I don't think I'm as worried about the Notre Dame offense as the Michigan offense, but I don't know that it's that that far away from
No.
it. They need everything to just sync together, right? And I think the offensive line has played reasonably well the first 2 games considering how young they are, but again, they have to find answers to create explosive plays in the pass game, whether it's play action, whether it's finding someone who can get deep. Mike Denbrock doesn't have Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas this time. It's not that easy, and he doesn't have Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
So they have to find a way to create explosive passing plays to make people feel like, okay, they're a threat vertically. Then you soften them up. It's everything we saw from Texas against Michigan. Okay, they're a threat downfield. Then the run game opens, and it all sets each other up. Right now, it's not. It's disjointed because they don't have any threat of a vertical passing game.
I mean, this is, again, 3rd time in 3 years Marcus Freeman's had a massive home upset happen to him. I mean, Stanford happened a couple years ago. Marshall happened a couple years ago. And now Northern Illinois this year. It's rough. It really is rough. And I'm with you. I think Notre Dame almost has to win out now. It's a tough sledding for the Fighting Irish right now.